Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
Welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. But for our radio audience tuning in at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com, we're glad that you all could be with us. Also tuning in to our friends at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Podcast. We're glad you all could be with us as well. Have a real treat for you guys today, especially for those who are fans of some of probably the most popular Marvel characters out there. We have joining us today bestselling author Mackenzi Lee. She's going to be talking with us not only about her own literary journey, but also her newest book that I had a chance to read called The Winter Soldier, Cold Front. We'll talk to her about what it's been like for her to be able to give some great backstories to some popular characters, but also to see the way that readers are responding to it as well. If you guys have not gotten The Winter Soldier for yourself, we'll let you know how to be able to do that. But Mackenzi, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be talking to you.
The pleasure's definitely all mine. Mackenzi, you've gotten to be known, of course, for being able to craft some amazing stories that definitely keep us engaged. The Winter Soldier is no different. I want to talk about that experience for you. What has it been like for you to do something that you obviously love and now to be able to share it with the world?
It's it's been an extremely lucky career to be a novelist at all, and then to get to work on these characters that I really truly love. When I was a kid, I didn't want to be a writer so much as I wanted to be a writer of like comic books and Star Wars novels and stories about these superheroes that I was so obsessed with, and often didn't feel like I had a place in as like a young woman who was a fan of these sort of traditionally male spaces. So for the world to sort of open up and embrace me and let me tell these stories and to get to be part of this enormous universe that has so many incredible creators working in it and telling these stories is so cool. Like, it feels like such an understatement to say it's extremely cool, but that's how it feels. I feel like I've been pinching myself ever since I got this contract, and this is no different today.
Mackenzi, you bring up something really interesting because, as you said, I mean, to be a part of this universe is one thing, but you've been able to also, because of this, and which is what I thought about when I was prepping for your segment, let other people know what's possible for them. How does that feel? Just like these superheroes and these great characters we've gotten to know resonate so much with us, what has it been like for you to know that your journey is now resonating with others, and particularly young women, about what they can achieve as well?
Oh, I hope it is. I remember as a as a young nerd, and as a nerd in a time before it was cool. I feel like you can walk into Target and there's like Marvel stuff. When I was a kid, it very much didn't feel that way. These spaces felt very, very gate kept. I remember walking into the comic store by my grandma's house, and it was like exclusively populated by unfriendly middle-aged men who didn't want to teach me how to read comics or who any of these characters were, even though I was so desperate to learn. And so I think I'm by no means the first person to sort of throw open these gates, but hopefully I'm making it a little bit easier for whoever comes after me, and hopefully young women who now look for these comic spaces, now look for themselves in the authorship of these stories, can see me and know that there's a space for them, that it's possible.
Yeah. Well, this 3-part series you've been able to do, I mean, began with Loki, of course. I mean, Loki is one of those characters that definitely is complicated, to say the least. Then, of course, you were able to share with us Gamora and Nebula. I think the reason why I'm bringing that up, though, as we get to talking about the Winter Soldier, though, Mackenzi, is because these are characters we think we know or have gotten to know. But I love the fact that through your books, like with Cold Front, the Winter Soldier, you give us a different dimension, especially because you're taking us back. What has that been like for you to kind of create a backstory for us that makes them easier to understand and sometimes even to resonate with?
Well, I feel like I truly got lucky in that I got this project and they sort of pitched it to me and said, we want you to write, and they didn't know this when they pitched it to me, but it was essentially like, we want you to write books for all of your favorite Marvel characters. Like, I love Loki, I love Nebula and Gamora. If I'd sort of had my druthers and got to pick for myself, they're definitely the characters I would have reached for. And then Winter Soldier and Bucky Barnes is like the Ed Brubaker run of comics about him are the ones that made me a comic reader, and that I really like fell in love with comics as a format and fell in love with this character. He's my favorite character in Marvel, and part of the reason I think we like these characters and why I know in particular I've been attracted to Winter Soldier and to Bucky Barnes is because I think we all sort of feel like, I mean, these characters are anti-heroes, and I think we all sort of feel like we're anti-heroes in our own lives. If we were the subjects of novels, all of us would be a little bit unlikable. There would probably be some Goodreads and Amazon reviews about how hard it was to relate to the main character because they did things that were selfish and dumb and hurtful to others, because we do that. That's the nature of being human, and I think it's easier to relate to and find some sort of solidarity with characters who don't always do the right thing.
Yeah. And to that point, and I'll talk around this, Mackenzi, from the Winter Soldier Cold Front, what I love is the evolution we're able to see in an interesting way. And one of the things that stood out to me with Bucky Barnes, as you're able to share him in this book, is that even though we may come into a situation with the best of intentions, what I love is as the story goes along, he becomes someone who embraces who he chooses to be. And what I like about that part of the story is that it does show we have a choice. Even if someone may see us a certain way, or we're used to being painted a certain way, we at the end of the day have a choice. How important was that for you to share in this book about the choices that he personally made rather than just orders that were given to him?
I mean, I think a lot of my books come back to that concept of feeling like even when you don't have a choice, when you feel like you're backed into a corner, there's always the opportunity to do the right thing, even if that opportunity doesn't feel immediately obvious or seem to initially present itself. And with Bucky, he's a character that when we meet him, he's 16, 17, and has these sort of very black and white ideas about what it means to be a patriot and what it means to help the war effort and to be an American, and has this very clear-cut idea of the good guys and the bad guys, which I think when we talk about World War II, it is pretty obvious that there are sort of good guys and bad guys. I'm not making that argument,
right.
But he learns the sort of the complications and the moral questions and compromises he's going to be asked to make along the way, and starts to realize that he doesn't have to, being a patriot, being a soldier, being a good American doesn't mean that you just have to go along with things because that's the way they've always been, or because someone has told you that this is the way it is. It's just as important to stand up for what you know is right, even if it's the right side doing something they claim is for the right reasons. If it's the wrong thing, it's not worth sort of blindly following. And then again, to sort of talk around spoilers, in the end, he discovers that's the thing that makes him the most valuable as a soldier, as a patriot, as a spy, and as a human being.
Yeah. Last thing I want to ask you about or mention, Mackenzi, and then we're going to remind our audience how they can stay connected with you, is Bucky doesn't have to go through this journey alone. I think that's such a powerful lesson for young people, that even sometimes our support may come from unlikely sources, as it does with Bucky Barnes that we meet in The Winter Soldier Cold Front. Talk to about that for yourself, how important that's been for you to not feel as though you're alone, and knowing that others can be a part of this journey with you.
Oh, it's tremendously important to all of us. It's important to have friends, to have mentors, to have family around you. For me, I found that it's also been tremendously important to have role models, to have people who are. It's very cool to be a trailblazer, but for me, it's been incredibly important to have women I can look to who are working in this space already, who are doing the things I want to be doing. To have people who have done this work and have sort of proved to me that if they can do it, I can too. And I think it's important. It's so important as a creator, as an artist, but also as a person to open yourself up to those influences and to know it can be a very solitary profession to be a writer. It's a lot of sitting alone in your room staring at a computer screen, and then once every 3 or 4 years you get to do something like today where you actually have a book out. But it's those relationships with people that make us human, that make us artists, and at the end of the day, that's what stories are about.
Yeah, such a great point, and such a great conversation with you, Mackenzi. Thank you so much again for this. Again, everyone, best-selling author Mackenzi Lee has been our guest. The new book is The Winter Soldier, Cold Front. It is available through our friends at Amazon.com or through your favorite local bookstore if they don't have it. I know they'd be more than happy to order it for you. Mackenzi, I know this is a busy time for you, but how can our audience kind of stay connected and keep up with the journey you're on?
You can find me on Instagram at the Mackenzi Lee, which is TheMackenzielee, where you can come for the books and stay for my excellent dog.
All right. Mackenzi, congratulations again, and looking forward to our next chat together.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, glad to do it. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live, and let's go make today amazing. Take care.